Hey everybody, Stephen Bogran here from Physique. Today I'm talking about what you should know before your first competition.
My name is Steven and this is our video about health and fitness things, and I work for Physique and I am just a guy with a fitness thing for you.
Well, I hope you're all having a great start to your week so far. This is obviously a good conversation to have because a lot of us are going to be seeing competitions starting now. The Arnold has come and gone. We have a lot of the local competitions that are really starting to kick up. And bodybuilding is in the air. Especially with summer coming up and everything else going on. And for those of you out there who haven't competed before, there are a lot of questions about what do we need to know, what do we need to be aware of, how do we prepare, how do we get ready, what do I need to know for my first competition? And these are really great questions. Now, I think where we like to start and where I like to start is going to a competition. So if you're thinking, hey, I'd really like to do a competition, it seems cool, I would love to push myself, challenge myself both physically and mentally. Okay, beautiful place to start. Now, let's go see what the competition looks like. This is a great thing because, one, you're going to get to see how the actual show goes. What to expect, lineups, call-outs, poses, and you're going to get to see the differences in conditioning. Whose conditioning is winning, whose conditioning is not winning, what does my class look like, what poses do I need to know? Wow, there's a lot. And so this really gives you the kind of start to everything. Just go watch a show. Now, I would say for those of you like, well, do I go to prejudging or finals? My input is always go to prejudging. That's probably the more important one to make sure that you go to. That's where all the judging is done, and that's where you're going to see most of what you really need to see. So if you're only going to do one, prejudging is my pick. Once you kind of get that idea and you're saying, ooh, well, I still like this. I still think this is something that would be really cool. Now you can start looking at more information online. What are my mandatory poses? What does a mandatory pose even mean? Do I have weight classes? And if you're like me and you're competing in the NPC, then you can simply go to NPC News online or even just Google search NPC competition rules and say you're doing bikini or men's physique or classic physique or figure. You can look up that information quite easily. It's readily available. And they're going to go over your suits, they're going to go over your mandatory poses, and you're going to get a chance to see kind of what people are supposed to look like and what they're looking like for that division. And this is a great place to start because it's that base knowledge of, okay, boom, this is what I'm getting myself into. This is where I need to get. This is kind of what I'm shooting for. It's hard to go into a show if we don't know what the goal is. And so I really like starting off with just some kind of getting used to it, getting familiar with what it means and what you're looking to do. So the second thing I would say that you need to know before your first competition is your coach. If you haven't done this before, I would most definitely recommend a coach. And I would recommend finding a coach that is known for science-based practices as well as good results. There is this thing that matters, and it's called genetics. The way that my bone structure is determined, how big or small my hips are, how easily I put on muscle, how easily I lose body fat. These things all matter. A good coach is going to find a way to get good results regardless of what maybe your specific genetics are going to dictate that you're good at or not so good at. I always say that it's very important because not only are they going to get you ready for the show, they're going to make sure that your training's good, they're going to make sure that, your diet's good, and we're not hopefully just putting you drastically down on calories a long way out, and we're taking care of your health, we're preparing you for how to get out of the show as well, to not have this crazy rebound, those kind of things. But we're also helping you to say, okay, this is the timeline we're going to need for what you're trying to do. And that will differ based on how lean or far away from stage conditioning we might be. Coaches should be helping you to realize that. And within that, we can kind of give a timeline. Once we have that timeline, the next thing I like to do is pick a show. Particularly if it's your first show, I think convenience is king or queen. or Almighty Emperor, whatever. Convenience is huge. And so generally speaking, when I'm looking at a first-time competitor, I say, okay, let's find a show that's local to you, that's not going to be too difficult for you to manage. We don't need you flying across the country per se. We don't need you having to deal with a lot of extra stressors and costs that are associated with that as well. And so show choice then becomes important. So we want to find something that's reasonable. So your show choice. So started with go to a show, timeline and coach, right? Show choice also matters. Make sure that you're picking something that sets you up to be successful. Oftentimes, we want to do the easiest thing. And it's not that it's easy, because it's not, but if I can choose to do this thing and try and be successful, or I have to do something that requires this much more work, well, the higher likelihood of success is the one right here that causes me to not have to do quite as much work. Particularly speaking, if I'm not used to it. If you're used to this already, well, now this isn't as big of a change. So then we want to look at, like, what is our posing suits? Because that's going to be different for males and females. We want to make sure that we have those kind of situated far enough out so that we have it in time for the show. We also want to make sure that we're practicing our posing. This is a big one that a lot of people goof up on. They don't take their posing practice seriously enough. Posing is difficult, and we don't have mirrors on stage. We have a lot of people looking at us. We're tanned up. It's a stressful situation. So making sure that we pose enough and that we're practicing that properly is very important. NPC puts on a lot of posing seminars around the country. I would absolutely encourage you to make sure that you, if you're not comfortable in posing, go be around other posers, work on it, and then make sure that you're getting that critique from the people that are at the seminars. It can be super helpful. And then there's a lot of other things that we need to keep in mind. And so we talk about tanning. Well, how do we get tanning information? That comes from normally the actual promoter. Each promoter is going to have a different tanner that works at each show. But knowing, well, how do we prepare for tanning? Exfoliating skin. And your tanning company should always give you preparation instructions for your skin to make sure that you're getting the most out of that tan. How to take care of it. Making sure that we're not wearing colors that might mess with the pigmentation and turn this tan color off. Making sure we're not using deodorants, those kind of things. But also making sure we're bringing extra sheets to the hotel or towels to the hotel so that we don't get charged for those. Again, it all kind of culminates. So this is a lot of list stuff. But these things are all super duper important because what it does is it saves you stress. It gives you a guide. It gives you this kind of way to go so that you know what to expect. When we know what to expect, most of us are very good at handling it. We're better capable to do so. And so it becomes very important that we have some sort of expectation. We don't want to go in blind. Again, this is a lot of what I'm doing as a coach for my clients. Saying, hey, if you're a female competitor and you're going to be on stage with a tan, we need something to help us with the bathroom stuff so that we don't mess up our tan. Can the tanners touch it up? Of course, yes. But we also want to make sure that our tan is the right color, okay? That our posing's correct, that our hair, our makeup, we know what to expect there. It is a lot, right? It becomes very, very overwhelming sometimes if we don't have that plan in place. And again, if we want to look our best, that stress management stuff, going in confident, cool, collected, and ready is very important. We want to make sure that we set you up to be ready, at least as much as possible. And that is, of course, beyond all of the making sure that our conditioning is where it needs to be, making sure that our posing is where it needs to be, and obviously being there on time, knowing what to expect, how early do we need to be there, how late do we need to be there, all these other kinds of things. Now, there's definitely a lot more detail than what maybe I just went over, but these are some things to consider, making sure that you have kind of your checklist ready to go. And if you don't feel like you're ready or you don't feel like you've been prepared, making sure that we take the time to stop and fix that situation right now. So I hope that helps for some of you looking at your first competition this year. Woo, what an exciting thing it is. But I'll leave it there. I'll talk to you soon.